cell division and reproduction that spreads throughout the body. The reason why there are so many different types of cancers, it isn't just one disease, is because there are many, many different types of cells in the body that can differentiate. Abnormal cell division can be caused by a series of genetic or cellular alterations or translocations. These cells reproduce with uncontrolled growth and metastasize and spread throughout the body. Now, it happens in 3 stages. So initially you'll have initiation, which is the transformation of cells caused by interactions with viruses, chemicals, or radiation, among other things. Initiation can also be affected by excess energy intake from macronutrients and alcohol, as well as limited fruit and vegetable consumption. These cells can remain dormant until they're promoted at some point in the future by a specific agent. Now, promotion actually occurs when these initiated cells are triggered to then grow abnormally. They're now known as a neoplasm, which is a new abnormal tissue with no function. And then you have tumor progression, which includes metastasis. Now, response to cancer treatment is either known as complete remission, or a CR, partial remission, or a PR, stable disease, which means the disease is not growing, it's just stable, or progressive disease. Now, there is a latency period between initiation and promotion. And we're going to have a case study at the very end of the lecture that kind of talks about this. Essentially what happens is that when that initial DNA mutation occurs, the cell can remain dormant for 20, 30, 40 years until something triggers it to start exploding into an abnormal cell. Nutrition is important early on in this process, in this initiation phase, because it can protect the DNA of our cells from this mutation, and it can also prohibit promotion and progression to a metastatic tumor. So nutrition, as I just mentioned, modifies the carcinogenic process at any stage. 1/3 of all cancer deaths can be directly attributed to diet, nutrition, and lifestyle behaviors, such as poor diet, physical inactivity, overweight and obesity, alcohol, and tobacco use. And we'll talk about some of these in the next few slides. Nutrition is also adversely affected by the cancer itself. The cancer can change the way your body metabolizes and uses nutrients, and we'll talk about that also. And nutrition is also adversely affected by cancer treatment. 1/5 of all people diagnosed with cancer will die of malnutrition. That actually is a recent statistic that came out last year by the National Cancer Institute. It's actually rather frightening. I have seen patients in my practice die of malnutrition, not the cancer, and it is frightening. So the first thing we're going to talk about is nutrition and increased cancer risk. So alcohol consumption is directly associated with cancers of the head and neck, of the pharynx, larynx, esophagus, and the breast. Daily consumption of even 2 to 3 drinks, it has a 2 to 3 times that increase as compared with non-drinkers. Salt and salt-preserved food also increases risk. In addition to this, foods that have been smoked, because they contain nitrates and nitrites that can interfere with and interact with normally occurring chemicals in our body to form carcinogens. Overweight and obesity increased cancer risk because adipose tissue produces estrogen. Estrogen, for individuals who are carrying a gene for estrogen-sensitive breast cancers, this can actually increase their risk for developing breast cancer. Obesity also affects hormones such as insulin that can affect growth rates and so forth, which can increase cancer risk. HCAs, yes?
Is that the BRCA or the?
Yes. Yep. HCAs and PHAs. And I always have to write these down, sorry. Heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These are substances that are formed when meats are cooked over an open flame at very high temperature. For instance, when you grill meat. It interacts with the fat and the proteins in meat, and it actually changes the composition within the meat. Charcoal grilling is worse. Gas grilling is second. Roasting typically does not heat foods high enough to cause that charred exterior. So typically that's not quite as bad. What can help with that though, I'm a charcoal griller. We grill with charcoal all year round. And I know the risk. So there are a couple of things that I do to help with that, and these have actually been studied, is to use a marinade. Because when you use a marinade, it helps to coat the exterior of the meat so that the fat doesn't drop down and cause flare-ups. I also make sure that our diets are very high in antioxidants, fruits and vegetables, and so forth. So, naturally occurring carcinogens. Some of these include aflatoxins. Have you heard of aflatoxins before? Those are toxins that are produced when grains are not stored correctly. When grains get damp and they get moldy, it creates these aflatoxins. Aflatoxins are directly implicated in the development of liver cancer. Asbestos, which is a silicate mineral, which is naturally occurring, as you know, it also has been implicated in lung cancer. Hepatitis B and C has been known to cause liver cancer. And the bacteria that is shown to be prevalent in stomach ulcers, the Helicobacter pylori bacteria, has been shown to implicate stomach cancer. All right, so now we'll talk about decreased cancer risk. You've all heard about antioxidant activities. There are specific, fruits and vegetables that are in different classifications that have different protective benefits. The allium vegetables have antioxidant activity, and those are onions, scallions, garlic, those types of foods. Brassica vegetables also have antioxidant activity, and those are cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. Citrus fruits, we all know what citrus fruits are. Those have antioxidant activity. Fiber-containing foods, which help with colon and help prevent colon and rectal cancer, have antioxidant activity, but fiber-containing foods also help increase transit time. So it gets that food through the gut as fast as possible so that you don't have those contaminants sitting in the colon for very long. Carotenoid-containing foods are protective against lung, mouth, pharynx, larynx, and esophageal cancers. Carotenoid-containing foods are carrots, sweet potatoes, winter squashes. Some other things that have protective benefits are omega-3s. We hear a lot about omega-3s in the media. Fatty acids from fish that have anti-inflammatory processes. Coffee and green tea have antioxidants and antiphenolic compounds in them that are shown to be anti-cancer. There's a difference, though, between green tea and black tea. I don't particularly care for green tea, but green tea has anti-angiogenesis properties, which is a property that helps prevent the tumor from developing its own blood supply. The black tea doesn't have as much of that because it's roasted and it destroys that particular compound. The last thing I really want to talk about today is black raspberries. I actually go pick black raspberries every summer. There's a raspberry farm up in Wilmington called Dale Stokes Raspberry Farm. And they grow acres and acres and acres of black raspberries. If you get online and Google black raspberries, you'll see tons of research that pops up between Dale Stokes Raspberry Farm and Ohio State University. They have found that when they take these black raspberries and they freeze dry them, make an extract out of them, and inject them into mice, don't inject them, they feed the mice this compound, it actually reduces the size of colon polyps by as much as 80%. It's quite significant, and colon polyps are typically what can become precancerous. So, when you look at how much do they have to use to prevent this in mice, it actually equates to about a cup of black raspberries a day for humans, and that's not really very much. So it's exciting.